when you moved out here, you started interning on Who Charted.
First Improv for Humans, and then Who Charted right after that.
Both great shows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Super
did you
fun.
ever have to do the man on the street stuff?
I did. So when I was in college, actually, and I don't think this has been discussed, but I submitted. I submitted. I did man on the street interviews in college before I even moved to LA.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I was like a huge fan of the podcast, and then submitted. Like I emailed some account that. Oh wow! I'm so excited to tell this story. So I emailed.
You're already telling it.
I know. I'm getting so
go,
hyped
buckle
about
up.
a story I'm already telling.
Yes.
So
I can't wait to start recording this podcast.
It'll be so fun when we start recording. But I did I think 20 man on the street interviews at my college campus at Northern Illinois, and then did like a pre-interview, like a video where I was like, "Hi, Matt, my name's Kevin Bartelt. I'm a big fan of the podcast. Check out these interviews." And then I put it on a flash drive. Psychopath. And literally like sent it in an envelope to the PO box. And I've seen hosts be like, get a flash drive and be like, throw it out.
Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Well, you also filled the envelope with baking powder, right?
Yes,
to make sure it
exactly.
stayed secure.
And I used like magazine letters to like write it. But I did, so I just 100% imagine he never read that or got it. Like he would never put a flash drive. No sane person would do that. But then another thing I did was email a couple of times the like Improv for Humans email, whatever, just like praying that one day. So
So you were a fan.
I was a huge fan.
Okay.
And then like probably a year later when I started... Actually, I would say over 2 years. It doesn't really matter. Years later, when I started working at Earwolf, I got access to that email address. And I logged in and saw that all of my emails were unread.
No fucking way.
Yeah, like no one was touching that.
How many years later was that?
Like 2.5 or 3.
Jesus.
Like I was a junior in college, and then I moved after I graduated, and then started working at Earwolf like a year and a half later.
You find your flash drive stuffed in a mailbox that hasn't been empty.
Well, that was like the first
Covered
thing
in
I did
dust.
too. Was like sorting all of the fan mail. Like no one was touching it, and I was like, oh, I wonder if one day I'll see my creepy thing. And then saw like all my emails like bolted because they weren't read.
Hey, quickly,
was
Did you
nuts.
delete them without anyone?
when you reacted so big, was it to the fact that they never read his email, or to the fact that when he got access, he was like, well, I'm going to check and see if they ever answered this?
No, it's crazy that
equally
they're.
sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy
I
that
think
they're
it's crazy
still
that you
there.
were like, I'm going to check on these emails.
No, I
Yeah.
do the same thing.
Both equally ridiculous.
How many years later?
2.5 or 3.
Yeah.
Boom! I listened. Tweet us.
Tweet us the fact.
It was nuts. It was
There's a quiz.
Damn,
it was kind of a
dude.
shitty feeling, but it
Yeah.
also made me feel better. That was like,
At least you didn't get ignored or
Exactly.
anything. You're like,
Like-
what a crazy
Yeah.
person.
Sorry, you recognize this guy.
so I recognized Thomas, and then he sent my info to Besser and was like, this guy wants to do the show. And he was like,
The email kid?
yeah, the psychos who
Yeah.
sent,
I'm pretty sure that was Anthrax with his flash drive.
He said it's a ransom letter.
and then he was like, yeah, he wants to have you on. And then I saw Besser like the next day, which was because it was around 420, and then he did his 420 show, and then
Yeah.
I was doing his show like the next day. And I was like, hi, Matt, I'm Kevin. I'm the guy who's going to do your... And he was like, obviously stoned because he just did like a ton of 420 sets.
Yeah.
And was like, okay.
Cool.
And I was like, all right, great first impression.
Love meeting your heroes.
Yes, and then I did Improv for Humans the next day, and then he had me on like and interviewed me for the show, basically like did my
Damn.
interview as an episode and had like a Herald team as all the performers. And then so that went well, and then a couple months later we used some of my Man on the Streets. And I think I did tell him, like, I did some of these in college. And he was like, okay. And then
You shouldn't have told me that.
Psycho.